Alright, so we're setting up our viewfinder right here. We're doing the math for it. If it's an 11 by 14, we're going to times that 0.5. That's going to be 5.5 and 7. And we're just going to go in there, cut this out, make a rectangle. The math is just to keep it in proportion with the paper that we're using so we don't have a wonky picture. You don't have to do it this way, but this is going to be the best way and most accurate. Get in there, shush it out. It's floppy. The harder the board, the less floppy it is. So it'll be easy to make marks when it's a thicker board like this. Cardboard. Not as floppy. And you would have to go in there with the X-Acto knife and take it out. So moving on. Let's get a box, Boom. There. Oof, we're in quarantine. Little sculpture dude. Something transparent. It's got metal on it too. It's reflective and wood. It's kind of nice. Shorts. Some drapery. We're going to put that over the box. Let's set it up. Drapery. Shush it up. Make it look nice. Dynamic. If it doesn't stay, put something on it. Get some dynamic lines. So I'm going to move that around. Nice little marble right there. Sculpture dude again. It's coming in. The shorts. Wiggle it up. Shush it. Get it dynamic. Those are some cool folds. Little marble. Why not? And we're going to move on. Of course, my camera died, so we have to move this here. It's a different setup. Kind of the same thing. Transparent. Drapery. There's not that much contrast between my fabric and the cloth, so that's okay. But we're going to keep our arms straight here. Make some marks, just so I know where it is in relation to the paper. This is why we want it proportional. Okay? If you don't have space, I'm going to show you what happens if you get too close. So we want to keep it in proportion. So I'm marking again where the edges of the items are. This is probably the coffee mug right there. Nice and reflected. And then if you keep it in proportion with the viewfinder, then you can just make those marks on the paper. It's a little cheat sheet. But we want to keep our arms straight. This keeps the measurement consistent throughout. Make some marks here. Just doing it. We're not really committing to any line, not pressing down. My arm is off the page, my hand is off the page. Just making quick marks. Nice and easy. I'm looking at it. And there we go. Keep your arm straight when you're measuring with this. Alright? Keep it straight. This again is going to help with the measurement. Don't tilt it. Keep it straight right there. Boom. Perpendicular with your arm. There's my cat goose. And see, I'm not making like hard lines. I'm just, mapping it out at this point, scribbling it in. You can start to see there's some value getting added. There's no lines in nature, so it means there's no contour lines. Right? We're building in value with the tip of the pencil just to map it out. We'll go in there and you can shade it in a little bit more delicately, and I'll do a little exercise in that in a little bit. Again, measuring, cross-referencing things, the top of the mug to where the Sonic's nose is, to where the bottle begins in my composition. And where you begin measuring, if you haven't measured anything off of that, don't say like measure the top of the coffee mug if you haven't measured that to everything else. So if you measure the top of Sonic's nose to the mug for me, right, then I can take a measurement from the top of the mug to anywhere else, and then I'll keep it consistent. But if I don't do that, then it might come off of a wonky drawing, and that's no good. All right. So here we are. This is the other exercise. Now that we have that all set up, this is going to be just by touch. I'm going to grab an object, rub the sides of it, feel it, and then try and recreate that in the drawing. This is going to be a contour, right? Because you can't see it. We're not going to be able to measure it out with our eyes and our hands. We're just feeling it. I'm not looking at it. It's underneath the table. There's that. Nice line. not being too delicate with these. It's not going to be perfect, so don't try and make it perfect. But then you can go in there and add value. There's Goose again. Not too bad. Not too close, but you can go in there and shade it. And we'll do some. And then here's the next exercise. This is important. We're going to do as straight as line as we can, real quick, straight lines, as straight as you can. Back and forth, side to side, diagonal, up and down. You move the paper. Try and not move the paper as much. You want to train your hand. Then we're going to go in there and just do one movement of a circle. Again, we're just trying to train our eyes to do what our hands want to do, and vice versa. Have that communication level between your hand and your eyes. It's just going to help you be able to make measurements, drawing from observation in life, and as well from a photograph. Do them smaller. Fill the whole page, front and back, 2 pages. Back again. Those weren't really straight and they were far apart. Go in there. Do it again. Little circles. Fill up all the blocks, as many as you can with the circles. We're not looking for perfection here. Shading. Adding value to something. You can even scribble it. Okay? I'd rather you scribble it than use your thumb or your skin to do it. And this is press down hard in the beginning, right? And then I let it off. I also spread it out. You can spread out the marks. That'll help give the illusion of depth. Highlights. And then I'm just going to go in there and add some scribbles. Maybe carve out a face. Hit some things that I would just imagine. Try to imagine it. The lip is off. It's horrendous. But, again, you can just scribble this in and make it look believable. Get in there. Add the eyes. Nose. Top of the nose. And these are just scribbles. It's not going to look spot on necessarily, but not too bad. Just showing you how you can shade or add value. There's that. Eyes. Those are too small. Making them bigger. Yeah. There they are. Scribbly, scribbly. Yeah, why not? I'm just going to go ahead and make it a bird, The side of the face is a bird. It's a human, but it's also a bird, Get a little weird. Put some wings in there. Make that line. And just simple lines can indicate something. Sometimes you just don't want to make it look exactly right. Okay. Another way you can do this is to give the illusion of maybe a curve or something, is to make the strokes do it, have strokes that do it. You can also, and I'll show it in the next step, build up value and then add this in after that. You can add this in post, nice value with the tip of a pencil, and it'll do a lot of the same effect. Give that curve. So I'm just trying to get this curve effect, and the line's doing that much more than, say, like a slow addition of graphite onto the page, which I'll show you in the next segment. I'm just going to grab a darker pencil here, and then again, this is just helping with the illusion. Adding value, more contrast usually is better, unless you're going for like a light ethereal feel. Again, and you'll learn this after you just stick with one for each piece, and then explore. We're not looking for perfection in the foundation, Just go in there, and I changed up my marks just to give that different level of plane. And that's basic. That's real quick. And then the next one, we'll take our time. So I'm drawing a tomato that was in my still life. I just look at it a few times while I'm drawing. Notice my hand's off the page. I'm letting the pencil weight do most of this. This will give it a nice smooth effect. I'm going fast. I shouldn't. Probably smaller circles are better, but I just want to get this down fast and speed it up for you guys. But yeah, smaller circles, hand off the page. Just letting the pencil do this right now. This is a 4H. There's no lines in nature, right? So instead of drawing that line, I'm drawing the shadow that's casted from the light, checking it out, looking. There's another shadow right there, I think. The reason I chose the tomato is because it's round. It's almost like a sphere, so it's going to take a shadow, or rather, it's going to take the reflected light off the object closest to it. So that beam of light that's coming is hitting right close to the vicinity of where my pencil is right now, and you can kind of see it. There's a little highlight there, and that's just a reflection of the light on the object closest to it, or the plane closest to it, rather. Just shading in a little bit more here. Again, my hand's not really on the page, and if it is, you can keep your pinky there, but you're going to have to hold that down, and that's just going to mess it up. You're going to have inconsistent pressure on the page with the pencil, and the more consistent you are with it, the more control you have, the more you can dictate what the picture looks like at what point. I mean, you could spend an enormous amount of time on one thing and get it right, but you want to be able to do it quick, faster, as time goes on. If you're going slow now, that's okay too, but it's like with math, if you sit down and have enough time, you can figure it out. But we want to try and speed it up so that we get a lot of drawings done, not just one good drawing. We get 20 quick good drawings. Again, there's no line in nature, so I'm just showing those shadows. They're not super delicate outside of the tomato, just to indicate that it's not the focal point of what I'm trying to do. That cast of light, again, is not directly touching the plane next to it. That's why I went around it. I moved up to a pretty dark pencil here. Just putting that in. Again, I've been moving pretty quickly, so that's why it's not looking smooth right now. I'm going to have to go back in a little bit with a 4H, and we're pushing and pulling. So if I put down a 9B and then go in with a 4H, it'll be pretty dark. But if I go in with a 4H first, I've already put a film layer, so to speak, of graphite down, like 4H graphite, and it's going to be pretty light. You can see it's pretty light there. And that's going to keep, if I go over it with a 9B, it's going to keep that 9B from reaching its fullest value. It's going to be a little bit lighter. It's not going to be as dark if I just put down a 9B. Like right now I've got like a 7 or an 8B, and it's not going to be as dark as a 7 or 8B could be because I already have a lot of graphite on the page. And it's pushing and pulling as well as putting down more, but it's pushing and pulling the 4H. So going in there. And if I went in with a 98765B pencil right away, it could give it an effect as well. It might look felty because paper isn't perfect, right? It's not a computer screen. It's not completely smooth, so you might have to go in there real delicately and like fill in a spot. You can kind of see it looks a little grainy. So if you want that full smoothness effect, you're going to have to go in, look real close with a very sharp pencil. And you want to keep your pencils as sharp as you can in all of this. I don't know, you can't really see it too well, but I'm spinning the pencil as I go. This is just to keep the edge of the pencil as sharp as possible. If not, if you don't want to do that right away, because that will take time, just to be able to be comfortable with spinning the pencil while you do it. Just get a sharpener. Take a pause every few minutes. I'm starting to commit a little bit more to my mapped out tonal value range. Going in there. And I've kept the highlight, the brightest spot. That's that little circle of light. But I'll go in later with an eraser and carve out some more, which will make it more dynamic. So if you can't erase, so you have to go in there right there because I scarred the paper, and then just fill in that pulp. All right, yeah. See the stroke of the line giving that indication. It's like really curved. Going in there. And I'm just going to go in there with an eraser and start pulling stuff out. When you're pushing and pulling with the tip of the pencil, that's a key component, but also pulling out with the erasers are going to be huge. So like a kneaded eraser is just going to try and take away that top layer of graphite. The pencil I used, you could do that. I was using just the weight of the pencil as well. It's a Blackwing, but it's not going to be as reliable or consistent as, say, a kneaded eraser. And you might scar the paper without this. So this is a little dangerous, but I just want to pull it out, get in there, maybe get that one shadow in there, embellish it. So yeah, just look for the light, look for the shadows. Don't be too precious. This was real quick. And make sure you get the contrast, and it could look better than this, way better than this. Might look close. Yeah, just have fun with it. Don't be too precious.